The 12th Doctor has returned with a new series of audio adventures titled Run Fast, Be Kind. And the first story is The Second Death. I won't hold back my opinion on this because I think it's fantastic. It's a great opening that introduces us to a brand new companion, Ash Wilton, while also launching an interesting new series. I'll admit I was a little skeptical about this series going in, but I decided to give it a chance. I'm really glad I did because what stood out to me the most about The Second Death is how much it focuses on grief, guilt, and hope. Ash and the Doctor actually have quite a lot in common when it comes to grief. At the beginning of the story, Ash loses someone extremely close to him, and the loss affects him far more than he's willing to admit. The Doctor is dealing with something similar. He's recently lost his wife, River Song, and while he desperately wants to keep moving forward, it's clear that he doesn't really know how to process what he's feeling. There's a beautiful scene where the Doctor explains why he came to this planet in the first place, and I think it's one of the best moments in the audio. It gives us a better understanding of what the Doctor is going through after River's death, while also establishing this emotional connection between him and Ash. I also really like the introduction of Ash. He's a wandering bard who travels from town to town, playing music, telling stories, and trying to help people wherever he can. I think that's a really interesting idea for a companion, because Ash is someone who wants to make people's lives better. That becomes especially interesting because of the world he lives in. The planet is described as desolate and almost completely devoid of hope, and it's being ravaged by a clone species known as the Desolutes. As the story goes on, we get more world building that establishes just how hopeless this place has become. And yet Ash continues trying to help people through his music and his stories. There's something really compelling about that. Ash is surrounded by a world that has lost all hope, but he refuses to give up on people. A lot of the story revolves around the Doctor and Ash working together to save Ash's friend, Harry. Eventually, they manage to find him, but Harry has been badly injured and is going to die. I really like how determined the Doctor is to save him. He refuses to simply accept the fact that Harry is going to die and puts everything he can into finding a solution. Eventually, they discover that Harry can survive by being placed into the body of one of the Desolutes. And for a moment, it seems like they've actually succeeded. Harry's life is saved, and the Doctor and Ash return to the city with him. Unfortunately, the people there hate the Desolutes because of everything the species has done to them. This is where the story's themes of grief and guilt really hit Ash. He completely breaks down after Harry's death, and you can feel just how much it affects him. Ash has spent his life trying to help people, and now his attempt to save his friend ended with Harry being killed anyway. One of my favorite moments comes afterward, when the Doctor reaches out to Ash and asks him to travel with him. It's a really touching moment because the Doctor understands what Ash is going through. He knows what it's like to lose friends and people he loves, and he understands how overwhelming grief and guilt can become. The Doctor is incredibly compassionate throughout the story. We're used to seeing him be sarcastic, abrasive, and sometimes rude, but The Second Death gives us a more empathetic side to the 12th Doctor. He recognizes that Ash is struggling, and he gives him someone to lean on. The actor who plays Ash, Gwyneth Evans, does a fantastic job in this scene. The amount of effort he puts into this scene is fabulous, especially since it's his first audio appearance as this character. By the end of the story, Ash and the Doctor understand each other much better. I really like how naturally their relationship develops. Neither of them simply decides to trust the other for no reason. They both have to open up about the grief, and the shared experience gradually brings them closer together. Eventually, Ash agrees to travel with the Doctor, and I'm really interested to see where their relationship goes from here. The Second Death isn't a especially action-heavy Doctor Who story. It's much quieter and much more character-focused, with the story being more interested in grief, guilt, and the relationships between its characters than huge action sequences. And honestly, I enjoy that. John Cusack is also good as the 12th Doctor. I was a little unsure about his impression at first, but it really grew on me as the audio went along. By the end, I was completely comfortable listening to his version of the character. Overall, I think The Second Death is a fantastic start to Run Fast, Be Kind. It introduces Ash in an interesting way, gives the 12th Doctor some great emotional material to work with, and tells a very touching story about grief and finding a reason to keep moving forward. Give The Second Death a 8.5 out of 10. I had a great time with it, and after going into this story a little skeptical, I'm now very much invested in seeing what happens next to the Doctor and Ash.